The night the joke began, no one in the Navy unit expected it would end in silence, tears, and an admiral standing to his feet. They thought it would be harmless. They thought it would make them laugh. They never imagined it would change a man's life. And they certainly never imagined it would remind an entire room what real courage looks like. Chief Petty Officer Daniel Hayes stood alone at the edge of Pier 7, watching the dark water slap against the hulls of resting ships. The salt air stung his face, but he barely noticed. His phone buzzed in his pocket, another message he wouldn't answer. Another invitation he'd politely decline. Daniel had learned that loneliness was quieter when you didn't fight it. At 38, Daniel was known in the unit as dependable, disciplined, and unbreakable. What most of them didn't see was the man who rushed home every evening to cook macaroni for his 6-year-old girl, help with spelling words, and sit outside her bedroom door until she fell asleep. They didn't see the framed photo on his nightstand of a woman with tired eyes and a gentle smile, his late wife, Emily, gone 3 years now. Emily had died from an illness that didn't care about promises or plans. Since then, Daniel's world had narrowed to two things, the Navy and his daughter, Lily. Dating was something that belonged to another lifetime. Happiness felt like a language he once spoke fluently but could no longer remember. That's why the guys in his unit noticed. They noticed how Daniel never joined them for drinks. How he laughed politely but never stayed long. How his phone wallpaper was always the same little girl in pigtails. And in the careless way men sometimes deal with emotions they don't understand, someone said it as a joke. We should set him up. The idea spread fast. A blind date. Someone nice. Someone persistent. Someone who could drag Hayes back into the world of living. They told themselves it was kindness. But underneath it all, there was laughter. Curiosity. A test to see if the quiet single dad would squirm. They arranged everything without telling him the full truth. A dinner at the officers' charity event. A woman they barely knew. They framed it as coincidence. When Daniel found out, it was already too late to back out. You don't have to do anything, one of them said, clapping him on the shoulder. Just show up. Daniel almost didn't. He stared at Lily that evening as she ate her dinner, sauce on her chin, talking about school. When she asked why he was wearing his dress uniform, he hesitated. Just meeting someone, he said. She smiled. Mom would want you to. Those words followed him all the way to the event. The room was filled with polished shoes, medals, and laughter that echoed off the walls. Daniel felt out of place immediately. And then he saw her. Her name was Sarah Collins. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She wore a simple navy blue dress and looked just as uncomfortable as he felt. When their eyes met, there was no spark, just recognition. Two people who had both been worn thin by life. Their conversation started stiff, then softened. They spoke about service. About responsibility. About the strange weight of silence in an empty house. Daniel didn't tell her everything. He didn't need to. She listened in a way that felt rare. What Daniel didn't know was that several tables away, his unit was watching. Waiting. Whispering. Smiling. Until the Admiral arrived. Admiral Thomas Reed was not a man who missed details. He saw the way Daniel sat, straight-backed but guarded. He saw the way Sarah leaned in, listening. And he noticed the glances from the unit. When dinner ended, the Admiral took the podium. And that's when the joke stopped being funny. The room quieted as Admiral Reed adjusted the microphone. His voice carried authority, but also something else, respect. Tonight, he began, we celebrate service. Not just to our country, but to the people who depend on us when the uniform comes off. He paused, eyes scanning the room, before landing on Daniel. Chief Petty Officer Daniel Hayes, would you stand? Daniel froze. His unit shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't part of the plan. Daniel stood. 3 years ago, the Admiral continued, this man lost his wife. He didn't take leave to disappear. He didn't ask for sympathy. He asked for duty adjustments so he could still make it home to read bedtime stories. A murmur spread across the room. He became a single father overnight. And every single day since, he has shown up. Not because it was easy, but because someone small was watching. Daniel felt his throat tighten. Admiral Reed turned toward the unit. I understand some of you thought tonight was a joke. A way to push a good man back into society. But let me be clear. His voice hardened. There is nothing funny about quiet strength. The room was silent now. Chief Hayes represents the kind of courage we don't put medals on. The kind that doesn't get salutes. The kind that goes home tired and still shows love. The Admiral looked back at Daniel, his tone softening. Son, your daughter will grow up knowing what honor looks like. Tears slipped down Daniel's face before he could stop them. He didn't wipe them away. Then something unexpected happened. Sarah stood too. She took Daniel's hand, steady and calm. I didn't come here as part of a joke, she said, her voice trembling but strong. I came because I was told there was a good man here. And I found one. The Admiral nodded, stepping back. The applause that followed wasn't loud at first. It grew. It swelled. It filled the room. Later that night, Daniel sat in his car, hands still shaking. His phone buzzed. A photo from home, Lily asleep, clutching her favorite stuffed animal. He smiled through tears. Daniel didn't suddenly become fearless. He didn't forget his loss. But that night reminded him of something he'd forgotten. That love doesn't replace what was lost. It honors it. And sometimes, even a poorly planned joke can lead to a truth everyone needed to hear. The strongest people aren't the loudest in the room. They're the ones who keep going when no one is watching. And that is a courage worth standing for.